Hey everybody, welcome back to WineXposed. I'm your host Larry, and we are looking at a dry rosé today. Thank goodness we are looking at dry rosé. We're shooting in Florida, and Florida, I believe, is the perfect place for dry rosé, especially when it's super hot out. Reason is, a lot of people look for that red wine flavor. They're looking for the resveratrol of red wine for heart health. But you know, when it's hot out like this, not everybody likes a full-bodied red wine, so they look for an alternative. A lot of people see this color and they think sweet. This is not by any stretch a white Zinfandel or a white Merlot for that matter. This is dry rosé. This is Chateau de Nages. This is 2009 vintage. It is a dry rosé from southern France. I believe it's just below the Côte d'Rhône. If not, it's southern France, but maybe at the southern tip of Côte d'Rhône or just south of Côte d'Rhône near. I believe it's near Provence, but which is definitely the area where you will find a lot of rosé production. This is 70% Grenache and 30% Syrah. Winemaker is Michel Gassier, and a fantastic winemaker. I've had a number of his wines. I really like his stuff, so I hope this wine delivers. Another bottle from Total Wine. Do a lot of shopping there. This bottle was $9.99. Great value. Let's see what we got. $9.99. This is a reserve. This is the Chateau de Nages Rosé, Reserve Rosé, which basically means, doesn't have to mean, you know, there are certain things that the word reserve or reserva means in certain countries. In France, it doesn't have to really mean anything, but typically what they mean by the word reserve is that it's their first fruit from the selection when they harvest and they separate their grapes from the best berries to the second best. They'll use their better berries for this, what they'll call a first wine, so they'll call that reserve. It could also mean that there's some oak aging in the wine. They've used some barrels. And I would expect that there's not any oak aging on this wine, oak influence at all. So let's take a look and see what we got. As you can tell, beautiful pink color. You know, definitely darker than salmon. Really beautiful color. I love the color of rosé. You know, the trouble with a lot of rosés I find is that they're not as aromatic as a lot of white wines and red wines that I sample. But on the mouth, they're really fantastic because they really do express nice acidity. Typically, great pairing wines, and you do get some nice red fruit expression without the weight of your typical red wine. Yeah, the nose intensity is really light on this wine. If I'm getting anything, I would say it's probably, you know, like either a little more strawberry than cherry, but probably just very, very faint strawberry on the nose. The color is real nice, though. Very nice, very light, very crisp. Bit of a dry finish. I'm getting something weird on the finish on this wine. It's almost like it's very dry on the finish. On the approach and the mid palate, it's not nearly this dry, but on the finish, it kind of dries right up and it shortens. It's a pretty short finish as well. It's nice and acidic too. This wine would definitely make for a nice pairing wine. My mouth is watering right now. So I think what it's calling for is a nice fruit plate, a cheese platter. If I was going to put it with food, I might put it with a salmon. Probably put it with something light, but typically I'd put it with a fruit platter or a cheese platter. That's going to go really, really nicely. Definitely crisp, definitely dry on the finish. Getting some kind of it's a unique flavor on the finish. It's not something that you get that you sense on the approach or the mid palate. The approach and mid palate is definitely all fruit, but again, like the nose, it's not very obvious. It's a very subtle wine, but would make for a really nice, refreshing beverage when it's very hot out. And certainly, if you want to pair it up, if you're pairing it with something that calls for a red wine, rosé is sometimes the way to go if it's light enough. You certainly don't want to put this with a big steak, If you got something that's not super rich and you're looking for a nice crisp wine to go along with it and you're outside, dry rosé is certainly the way to go. WineXposed, my name is Larry. We'll see you next time. Cheers.